Okay, guys, we are back today with a Coach Trap podcast. This week, we are so lucky to have the amazing Romi Mitchell coming on to tell us all about her amazing story through coaching and all about her fantastic course, which is just at Ordopia. Romi, thank you for joining us. I'd love to know a little bit more about you, a little bit more about your journey into coaching, and then let's dive deep into how amazing your course is.
Hello, Dan and Greg, and thank you for having me today. Yes, so I'm a person that actually lived through and suffered from anxiety. I'm going to start with that. But I'm also a coach and many other things. But yeah, I've actually lived through that. And for years, it had a big effect on my life. It changed the way I was approaching many things. It made me lose a lot of opportunities in life. Could say that now out loud. Friendships probably affected my relationships as well. And I sought out help. So I had a therapy and tried all possible meditations and whatever was out there that was claiming to help with anxiety. And it was more of a quick fix rather than anything that could help me long term. But all that time, I had a feeling inside of me that there was something else, that there was something out there that could help me. So I've done a lot of my own research and spend a lot of time talking to people that, on Facebook groups as well that suffered from similar thing. And I can't remember the exact moment when it happened, but I started to take a different approach to it. And I stopped seeing anxiety as this enemy of mine and seeing it more of a stranger that I had to get to know. And interestingly, that changed everything. For example, a few years ago, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now with you guys, being on a podcast. Oh, no, never. My anxiety would talk me out of it 10 times. So, yeah, I'm on the mission now to share what I've learned, how that changed my life. And I want to have other people, with my course that is coming up soon to also change their lives. So it's not just about not feeling anxiety, but it's actually about changing the course of your life. Decision you make, you don't make. Yeah, it's so transformational.
Amazing. Amazing. Romy, thank you so much for sharing that. And that really, really helps. So you got this amazing course coming out on
Mhm.
Ordopia. I'd love to know the title. I'd love to know what your ideal client is. And yeah, let's get that out. Let's get that information out there to the world.
Yeah, so the course is coming up very soon, within days. It's called, yeah, interesting. I changed the titles like 3 times, I think. But at the end, I wanted to be simple and very straightforward, very British as well. Anxiety sorted. That's it. That's brilliant. And that's what it is. Sorting.
Amazing.
Yeah. So as I said before, it's not another course that that will teach you, oh, count from 10 to 1, or you know whatever you can see, smell. Yeah, that probably helps, but it's something a bit deeper. It's really going to the roots of anxiety. And in my biased opinion, it's a different approach that myself and many people I worked with found really helpful, and it's literally changing their lives. So yeah.
It's amazing. Thank you, Romy, for sharing it. It's really interesting that you talked about having that challenge with picking a title for the course. I had something similar. And what I did was sort of like dive into problems that what people were looking for or what issues they were. And as I've got to know you, as I've got to know just how great you are as a coach, you can't lead others down a path if you haven't walked it yourself. You've talked about your own anxiety issues. You talked about having this own journey. And that's obviously projected in a real healthy way for this title of your course. That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. But we want to give you this opportunity to sell it as great as possible. Like actually becoming a coach is one thing, but actually like marketing your services is completely difficult. It can be hard. All right. And obviously, like I said, you're here with Dan, who's a genius when it comes to this. So are there any particular aspects? I know we talked about maybe the name of the course, right? Because obviously I resonate with that
Mhm.
as a coach. I know what that feels like. I know how difficult that is. But is there one specific aspect, or two or three that maybe you'd want a little bit of help with? Maybe something that we could turn the screw on, improve to make it better.
Yeah, for sure. So I heard Dan was how do you call him? Yoda mastered marketing.
Yoda.
Yoda.
Yes, he is.
He knows the way.
I
I'm
know the
He
way.
does.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wow. This is a great opportunity for me to ask. So look, I know how good my coaching is, my course is. I'm super confident about it. There's no question there. But I know how important it is to convey the value of what I do and what the course can do for people. Is this, and I'm on social media on Instagram, posting literally daily. There's probably few days that I missed, and yeah, and I've heard the 3 seconds of the reel. Yeah, that's the most important bit, I guess. But yeah, my difficulty is to be more visible and to stop people from stop on my reel when they scroll. They're like, oh, okay. I'm not even aiming to go viral. My aim is to get to the right person, like the most nourishing client of mine, something. So yeah, that's difficulty I'm experiencing at the moment.
Thank you so much for sharing. That stopping the scroll idea is
Mhm.
also known as the primacy effect,
Okay.
where you grab their attention and you turn that attention into interest. Like I said, you're here with an expert. Dan, we've already seen a little bit of Romi's content,
Mhm.
always seen some of the magic that she can put forward, from her coaching expertise. But any tips in particular you think you would give her?
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to say is that was a brilliant intro. You've obviously we've recorded that 3 times because of technical difficulties, and
Mhm.
obviously with anxiety and stuff, you said you wouldn't even have been able to come on the podcast before, but now you've done it 3 times, so it really just shows like a great transformation. It's a great marketing of yourself there. But yeah, with the Instagram, I think the first thing I saw when I saw it is a few of your videos are like your face is quite dark. You're in quite a dark room.
Okay.
So what you've got to think is if you're scrolling Instagram, if you scroll Instagram for like say 10 reels and then imagine that the 11th reel is would it look like you'd want to stop? Does it look kind of the same aesthetics as all those viral reels? Probably not, not at the moment. But the thing is, it doesn't need to go viral. As you said, it needs to reach the right people.
Mhm.
So the first thing is just getting that light on your face. It doesn't need to be anything like any professional studio stuff. It's just about getting the good angle, good eye contact, all of that stuff. And then the second thing, obviously, Greg said is the first 3 seconds, so the hooks. You're doing that quite well. I think we had a conversation about this a couple of weeks ago, and you've improved it quite a lot. So what you've done is targeted. For example, I saw one that said, "To all the mums, you've got this," on your
Mhm.
Instagram a couple of days ago. That's perfect. That's targeting all the mums. Obviously, you're targeting them, so anyone who isn't is going to scroll past, and that's fine. We don't need them anyway, because you've got to think maybe even if one or two of those ideal clients saw you, that's a great use of time for a 10-minute reel for you to make. So it's definitely solving those problems and being upfront about what problem you solve as well at the start. So you could say to all the mums experiencing X issue, this is how you solve it in 30 days or something like that. That's going to really entice them even more, give them a little bit of urgency as well. And it's going to make you really stand out and be memorable as well on the feed. So yeah, that's the preliminary thing I would say.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's great. Dog. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
And because I hear so much on the internet, you should do this, you should do that. It's so confusing. In your opinion, are reels better than carousels? I mean, how is that? Is that what?
I think it's very different for different people,
Yeah.
and obviously no one knows exactly your offer or your personality or your audience, so you can't really give generic advice. I will say for you, definitely experiment, do some reels, do some carousels, see what works, and obviously as well, you might be targeting the same audience, but different parts of the same audience might like different things. So some mums might like carousels, some of them might like reels. It just really depends. So you could see what results you're getting. Maybe you're going viral on one, but on the other, you're getting the clients from it. I would go on all in on the other. So it's really just optimizing for the result that you want and having the just experiment, you know.
So as you said, experimenting. Okay, because I've seen, when I look at the insights, my last 2 weeks maybe or so, I am getting more views and more non-followers viewing my content, which I believe that's a good thing. But yeah, there's a lot for sure that I need to experiment with, and then I guess just dabble on what's What's the most important metric? Is it the views? Is it the non-followers? What would you look at?
I would definitely look at the non-analytic stuff. So how many people have DM'd you about a post, or how many people have said, "Can I have a call with you?" or how many have turned into clients. What I do with all the clients that we sign is ask them where they first saw us. We found that quite a lot of them were on X, and a lot of them weren't actually even engaging with our posts. They were just looking and scrolling past. But then they actually sent us a message after that. So we got them to tell us the posts that really resonated with them, and then we made more of those. And obviously we didn't go viral instantly because that's not the goal. That those people were scrolling past anyway. But we did get more messages in because that's what we were optimizing for. So I definitely think asking is the best way to know.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. And you said X.
For us, yeah. But obviously it depends on your personality, your offer, whether you like writing or video. It's very personal and no one can really give you generic advice. But I would definitely recommend experimenting with different platforms as well as different types of content to see who likes those platforms. Obviously, there's quite a lot of mums on every platform, so that will be an interesting experiment.
Okay. So if I'm hearing right, what you're saying is being very specific in my content to who I'm directing is that so?
Yes, it is. Because otherwise you might go viral. For instance, I got 11,000 views a couple of years ago on a tweet that said, "When was the last time you slept 8 hours?" I got 11,000 views, but obviously that didn't convert into anything because it's got nothing to do with what I was selling. Nothing to do, it's got really no personality or anything. So it just doesn't matter. And people are going to forget you a couple of days after it. So what I found works is like 150, 200 views on a LinkedIn post was way more valuable to me because I ended up attracting coaches like you, and getting more opportunities from that. So it definitely don't worry about the numbers whatsoever. Worry about the things you're actually optimizing for, which is clients, opportunities, DMs, all of that stuff.
Okay. That's a great insight. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
No problem at all. Romy, I've got a question for you. I've got a question for Dan that hopefully I think we can amalgamate together. Romy, I've got to know you really well. I've got to see your content. I've got to know the value of your coaching. And also you've talked a lot about, being able to project and mirror what you've gone through onto your potential clients. It's known as the demonstration effect. So it's like you can't lead others down a path if you haven't walked it yourself. Dan, how would you put that into stopping the scroll? What content would you create? What hooks would you make to reach out to that target audience? Like maybe with an angle of using Romy's personal experiences to resonate, if you like.
Yeah, well, with Romi's Instagram, I didn't see any of this story whatsoever on it, and I was actually quite surprised when you came on the call and said all this great stuff because it really positions you in a great place. But you just weren't sharing that, and obviously that's a difficult thing to do, but it's something that has to be done if you want to resonate with the right people. So, for example, with your hooks, it links into the hooks again. You could say, "I was fighting anxiety the wrong way for however many years. Here are 3 signs of you doing the same as me." So what that's going to do is not only is giving upfront value, it's telling people what solution you're going to solve, and also telling which people should keep watching. Obviously, the anxious people that you're trying to target. It's also showing that you've been through it yourself, and that just adds an extra layer of trust and an extra layer of being memorable as well. So something like that with the hooks, adding your story into it is going to do really well.
Okay, and do it in the form of a reel. I mean, me talking. What was there?
It could be anything. So you could do it in the exact same hook in the form of text, and it's going to have exactly the same effect because people are going to resonate with it.
Okay, great. Just one question that is coming up for me. Because in my mind is if I put myself on the camera, me literally talking, speaking, it's gonna have bigger impact. But is that actually true? I mean, what's your
It
thought?
definitely can be. In theory, it should be. But possibly if your particular audience doesn't like watching videos, for example, they prefer reading, then the text is going to do better. But it's very person dependent. I know that's like an annoying answer, but you've really got to experiment with it. Keep trying new things. The hooks are the same either way anyway, so you're pretty much okay to just experiment with those hooks.
Really interesting. Really interesting. So, Romy, I've got a question for you in terms of like modeling vulnerability, if you like. I think probably that goes hand in hand, doesn't it, with your course? Any great sort of like immediate take home life hacks or activities or like something that you do every day that like someone can take home?
Love your question. That's a great question. And yeah, and I wish someone had told me that when I was in the middle of fighting anxiety. I mean, one very important thing that I started to do some time ago after watching Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist, and I can promise you that really, really helps. It's such a simple and easy thing to do. First thing in the morning, and I'm super religious with that. First thing when I wake up, well, maybe not the first thing, but within half an hour of waking up, I go outside. I actually go outside. And it doesn't matter whether it's raining or whatever. No, the main thing is that you go outside and you get that energy from the sun. I mean, you can't be wearing sunglasses. So just that's 10 minutes. And I do that with my kids as well. I make them, especially now during the holiday. It just changes your nervous system, changes everything in you. So that's one little, like a biohack kind of thing that I think anyone can do. Anyone, whether you live in the UK or in sunny Spain, doesn't matter because you still get the benefits as long as you're outside. And another thing, which I go very deep into details in my course, is the worrying bit, especially for anxious people. We tend to worry a lot, but we all worry. And for whatever reason, our brain thinks that it's kind of productive and prevent from things happening, which is a total lie and misconception, is to have designated worry time every day. Let's say 5 o'clock, and I still do that. Like whatever, when negative thoughts come to your mind and whatever you start worrying about things, you're like, this is not the time. 5 o'clock is the time. And you do that for 10 minutes. And after a week, you're going to see a massive difference. You just have to be doing it like with everything else. But that's a great tip. And I hope people will try that. Yeah. Because I wish someone had told me that a long time ago.
I halved my anxiety in 2 weeks using this method.
Oh, that's lovely. I love that.
And
Okay.
I'm sure you've got loads of stories like that as well. So it's really easy to kind of take that formula and just use it on loads of different things that helped.
So what you were saying earlier, being just more open with my own experience.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's going to make video really, really hit harder, is when it's your experience and it's your face and your voice to it as well. That's really going to give that personal effect to resonate even more.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
That's really interesting. I actually resonated. I was thinking about a clip in my mind as you were talking specifically about the Andrew Huberman idea and that, the thought process of your children going outside is, I sent a clip to Dan recently, the coincidence of how my golf handicap and my ability to, grow a business has gone hand in hand, right? And Dan helped me actually, we decided that it needed a voice over it. We decided that the captions needed to be different, but there was something I haven't not put it out there, but there was something powerful about having the video in the background, your voice over the top in the captions. Maybe this is something that we could work together on, Romy. Maybe we could, if I was going to share you what me and Dan created, maybe we could create something for you so we could almost match the method to the madness, if that makes sense, to stopping the scroll. What do you think about it, Dan? Any other sort of like tips or anything else that you would add to something like that to really reach out to her ideal client?
Well, I've had quite a few people on calls with me recently this week saying about how they're really concerned about their website and their logo and all of this stuff. And I would say it just really doesn't matter. The main thing is getting your story across, targeting the right people, and building trust with them. And that's the only 3 things that you got to do to potentially make a top 1% income. So don't worry about anything like external of that. Just focus on being relevant to the right people and building trust with them. That is my main tip for anyone listening as well, is doing that.
I'll give you a good tip. I think it would be great for your sort of content. Dan's going to laugh as he's the expert, and I'm trying to sort of tap into his sort of mindset. I have 2 phones. Okay, I don't just have 2 phones. I also have a GoPro, right? And I try to separate my private life to my business life to, running a company, if you like, right? But maybe like filming that day-to-day process might be better on a GoPro, something which is like different from your phone, and just constantly, going around filming everyday footage that you're doing. The idea of your children outside with the sunlight, the idea of you personally doing these hacks, whatever. I think people would find that really, really powerful. There is something about demonstration and projection. I know I called it the demonstration effect. I think that would be amazing for your sort of content, because I feel what people do specifically with a course like you is they don't resonate so much with the coach. They resonate with the problem that you can solve for them. Yeah. Would you agree with that, Dan, when it comes to the hooks? That, we know
Yeah.
Romi's got an amazing personality. She's an amazing coach. But actually what she is doing is she is using tactics and strategies to deal with this with her own daily life and her clients. She actually can solve problems. I think if she if those problems were put out, I think that would stop the scroll. What's your thoughts on that, Dan?
Yeah, because there's a lot of viral reels that are, that have got like 2 million likes, but you don't remember who actually did it. You just remember the concept of the reel and what problem they solved. So it's definitely really important to make it personal, but also solve problems in the day-to-day world, real life, not just like theoretical stuff, like the platitudes you see on LinkedIn and X, talking about like motivation and stuff. It's just really vague. Whereas that's a great idea if you filmed yourself doing all of these things with these stories. I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
Okay. Do I have to be the main character, or
Interesting
if
stuff. Really interesting.
Sorry, go on.
yeah, is it me being the main character, or is it Greg? What you were saying? Or just filming? I just want to understand better. Give me an
Yeah,
example.
it's a good point. Yeah, that's a really, really good question. A real common mistake that coaches have is they always talk about me, my problems, I've had this. And actually, that doesn't stop the scroll. What stops the scroll is when you have a problem that you can solve and people see that. That's a really good question. But what I would say, as you're talking from experience, as you're talking about being in a position that you've had and you've got through it and you've created your own tactics and strategies to work through it, which you've helped others, I actually think maybe flipping that script a little bit and yeah, using some of your daily experiences and maybe just filming it, but talking over the top of it or the captions over the top. I think there would be power in that. I think people would go, actually, hang on, yeah, that would help my life, if that makes sense, or that would help my friend, and they would share it, for example. That's my thought process behind that. But I think with, this is another thing, Dan. Every coach is different, aren't they? What would work for me maybe might not work for you. That's why we call it the coach trap, actually, because I think people get drawn into a trap thinking they have to do some things a certain way, and that's not quite true. You've got a very unique skill set, a very, like a real fantastic story, and I think that if you were going to project that, if you're going to put that out there to the world in the right way, I think that would stop the scroll. Is you as yourself, with that power that you've got, that unique modeling of vulnerability every day. I think that would be fantastic. Romy, anything else that you want to add about the release of your course, where to find you? I think that would be really great for the people that are going to be watching this.
Yeah, I'm still learning how to properly pronounce Odopia.
Yeah.
Yeah, Odopia SEO UK. It's definitely going to be out by the 18th of August, but people can find me also on Instagram, and I'm now working with digital nomads on nomadlifecoach. Yeah, because I've started to work with people that actually live different parts of the world. That's very interesting. And yeah, so those two places, and I've just started recording my podcast as well. I have 2 episodes. So yeah, in fact, do we have a minute? Can I ask something about the podcast?
Absolutely. That's why we're here, Dan, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so I've literally recorded 2 episodes. It's just me talking, and I think it's pretty interesting. How can I use that? I'm actually having loads of fun, and I'm having fun, really. How can I use that in my marketing, the podcast?
Yeah.
Dan,
So
that's definitely a question for you. That's definitely a question for Yoda.
What we do with the podcasts is we use a tool called Opus Clips. And what that does is it gives us a lot of different clips from the podcast, uses AI, so we don't have to bother doing any of that. And we distribute that on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all of that. So that's really what I'm looking forward to here is we've got quite a lot of cool clips out of this podcast, a lot of cool questions from you. And we're going to post that on our Instagram, on our TikTok. And a lot of people are going to see that. And it just really maximizes the reach of the podcast and what you can do with it. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. But my podcast is only audio? Is that?
Only audio.
Yeah.
It's a good point. That's a good point.
I think potentially you just film yourself recording it. That would make a big difference because then you're going to be able to get it on so many different platforms and it's going to be much more efficient for you, basically. And it's also going to funnel more people to listen to the full podcast. So if someone loves like a clip from your podcast, they see it on Instagram and you've got the link to it on Spotify, for example, they're going to be so much more likely to click on that when you've shown them a little clip of it and they like it compared to if you just said, please listen to my podcast. I promise it's really good. Something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, the clips are really definitely what we get most of our views from our podcast.
How long the clip should be?
Could be anywhere from 20 seconds to a minute and a half, anything like that.
Okay.
So it's just like when, for example, when you ask us a question and then I answer it, that doesn't have to take more than 2 minutes,
Okay. Brilliant. Okay, perfect.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay. Romy, I have a proposition for you. Thank you so
Mhm.
much for being a guest today. As that sliding door keeps on sliding open behind me. Anyway, Romy, I have a proposition.
Mhm.
I'll share you one of the clips that I made recently that me and Dan worked on together, and you'll see that method behind the madness of incorporating some of your daily life with a story that will stop the scroll to others. And let's work on one together, right? I'll help you with that. Alongside that, if you like, you want to learn how to reposition purpose a
Mhm.
podcast help you. I'll teach you how to record it, possibly on YouTube Live, how to cut it many times, and how to put it out there. What a podcast is and what it can help you with is imagine it is a fishing net. Okay. The longer you do the podcast, the
Mhm.
more important bits you know is the bigger the fishing net becomes, if you like. You set it out, the fish come in, and then you can funnel them very slowly down into a community, into a course, into a DM strategy, into a discovery call, whatever it is. But what a podcast does is it just draws in the fish to your fishing net, if that makes sense. It's the best way that I can possibly say it. But guys, it's been a pleasure speaking to both of you today. Romy, thank you so much for joining us. I'll make sure that all of your links are in every CTA that we do. Guys, you've got to trust me, just how amazing a course is, just how powerful it is. And remember, don't fall into the coach trap.